This is a video to go over Chemistry Part 2 ISN Test. On page 11 should be the table of contents. This will cover our Chemistry Part 2 unit, again located on page 11. Please make sure you have a completed table of contents with all the required labs, notes, and activities. On page 12 is our Bill Nye Chemical Reaction video questions. On 13, although I have no graph here since I didn't do the lab, there should be a graph from your energy and chemical reactions. Across from that on page 14 should be the data we collected. Make sure your graph includes Sultan. On page 15 is an activity we completed about balancing chemical equations. Across from that on page 16 was our notes on how to balance chemical equations. Mine are typed out, yours will be handwritten. On page 17 is a warm-up from 2-4 and also your lab procedures you wrote when demonstrating your lab for conservation of matter. Across from that is the lab sheet for that procedure description on page 18. On page 19 is a warm-up from 2-5, and you also have your explanation of why your experiment demonstrated the conservation of mass theory, and you had to underline the 4 words: closed system, open system, chemical reaction, and mass. On page 20 is a chemistry practice that we did for homework. On page 21 we have a warm-up and also our chem balancer notes. We had some issues with the Chromebooks that day, so just make sure you have at least one chemical balanced equation there. On page 22 you use colored pencils to model simple compounds, also counting the atoms and deciding if it was an element or a compound. On page 23, there is a balancing equation practice part 2, and across from that, acids and bases notes. You should have your balancing cabbage pH indicator graph on the far left, and then the cabbage indicator lab on 26. 27, you should have a completed acid base and indicator practice, and on the back should be a colored pH scale. On 28, you should have an investigation using indicator where we taped and looked at pH paper and then also looking at litmus paper. Page 29 has our warm-up from 218 about carbon. Asked you to draw a periodic square for carbon, its protons, electrons, neutrons, electron dot diagram, a Bohr model, and ask you why you think carbon's important. On page 30, directly across from that, is the carbon chemistry notes. Page 31 is your carbon chemistry packet, and 32, your polymer macromolecules notes. On 33 is the polymer chemistry notes that we did in class together, and on page 34 is your study guide. If you're missing any of these things, please check our daily agendas to print out the attachments or come in the morning to grab them. Good luck on your ISN test.